Hello, everyone. Welcome to lesson 10. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me well? Yes, great, amazing. Okay, so yes, welcome again. Um, let's wait a couple of more minutes before other people continue joining. So yeah, we allow other people to continue joining. So yeah, let's wait a couple of more minutes. Thank you.
They say, oh,
Okay, so yeah, welcome for those who just joined. Welcome to lesson 10. I think we can start now. So let me just share my desktop. Just give me a second. There we go. Perfect. So yes, here it is. Okay, just a second, please. Can you see my desktop now? Can you see it? Yes, great. Okay, that's amazing. Um, just one second. Yes, there we go. This here. Okay, so we can start now. Okay, welcome everyone again. Perfect. You can see my desktop. Thank you for the confirmation. Well, today we're going to be checking a couple of interesting topics. First one is about environments, the different environments that we can have during the software development life cycle. So it's something good to check. It's information that it's more like a general, let's say, information that is good for you to have, uh, just for you just to talk the same language as other QA engineers with more experience, and also in order to understand the processes and the companies that you will be joining. So yeah, this kind of topics are important for that, just to understand how companies are working with different like under different situations. And also the second topic today is about continuous integration and continuous deployment, which is also it's something like almost all the companies used to have, but it's like part of a process, part of the, again, part of the software development life cycle. And it's something that almost all the tech companies are using nowadays. So yeah, but before I start, let me introduce myself. I never been with you. So, well, as you can see, my name is Ignacio Britos. I've been working in this industry, in this tech industry, technology industry for more than 17 years, more or less. I started as you are going to be starting as a manual QA engineer. And I after some years, I became an automation engineer. So I was working on automation, and then I became a manager. Nowadays, I'm an engineering director in a company. I've been working in some Silicon Valley companies like Intel, most recently at Eventbrite. I also work in some fintech companies, some financial uh, companies. I'm leading an engineering area in a consultancy that is also is an AWS partner. It's Amazon Web Services partner. Well, it's kind of really interesting job that I got a couple of months ago. So yes, I'm mentioning this because just for you to let you know that this manual QA engineering work could be your first step, but you can continue working, you can continue also gaining experience, you can continue learning new things. If you want, if you decide to continue working as a manual QA engineer, you will have a lot of work for sure. There is a lot of work in manual QA engineering, but just in case you want to continue learning new things, you want to continue learning maybe a programming language, or you want to like study more management, or even if you have some management background, it could be from other industry. You can like working, you can continue in this industry, like working and evolving in this industry as you want. So yeah, just for you to know that this could be your first step, but there are a lot of things that you can continue doing in the future. So yeah. Okay, so about the or yeah, let me just remember that you are here and like in this specific place. Remember that it's that is very important that you finish and submit your homework, um, because that is very important for you. Remember that practice in this specific industry of manual QA engineering is really important, and it's also important because it will help you prepare to pass an interview in the future. So please make sure that you complete your homework and submit it as soon as possible. As next, just starting next class, uh, there will be some teachers like reviewing your homework. And it's important, well, you may know that creating test cases, creating good test cases is one of the main jobs of a manual QA engineer. So executing them for sure is another part, very important, but creating them, it's very important. And when I'm taking interviews, when I'm interviewing a manual QA candidate, I always ask them to create test cases live, like not just tell me how you would test this, or how would you do this thing, but also just open a notepad and create a test case for me, so I know I can see how, or if you know the structure, how to create, you know how to create a good test case title, you know how to manage the precondition part, you know how to manage the steps and also the expected results. So that's important. And for sure also the bug creation, bug report creation is also very important. Uh, so yeah, please make sure to practice, make sure to attend next lessons in which you are going to be reviewing your homework. And then if try please to pay attention to those tips that the teachers are showing to you. So so you can apply those tips, you can apply those specific things that you are getting there to your own homework. Okay. is the homework will be reviewed separately for each of us? Well, the teacher will be reviewing homework live, like in lessons live, as much as possible. And there will be, as far as I know, there will be another person, another careerist teacher reviewing your homework and adding comments to your homework. Um, so so you will have a feedback. You will get a feedback. But if you don't get that feedback, please let us know. Just write it in the chat. I know you have a Slack channel in which you can ask questions about the course. So if you don't get that support, please ask them in the chat for that support, because it's important that you review, I mean, that your test cases were reviewed and you have your comments, and you can adapt or just refine the test cases that you created. So yeah, it's important. Yes, okay. So yeah, that's the here is the place in like your journey in careers. You are lesson 10 now, and lesson 11 is the homework completion review. Okay, yes, you're welcome. So okay, so just to introduce the part of what is the deployment environment, let me just read the definition, and we can like add in extra things. So in software deployment, an environment is a computer system in which a software is being deployed and executed. So just for you to know, you may think an environment as an ecosystem. That's the main idea. Um, like it's like a thinking that in software deployment, an environment or a tier is a computer system or set of systems in which a computer program is or software component is deployed and executed. So an example of an ecosystem that you can have in your own desktop, it's, for example, your phone, your mobile phone, in which you have an environment like the environment is the my case is iPhone 14. It's the operative systems is iOS 16.4, I think it's 16.3. I'm not sure about the exact version of the operative system, but it's something like that. I mean, I have also part of my environment of my mobile phone environment is the that I have and 256 gigabytes of memory, and well, and environment in general. It's that's from in my case, right? I have also 5G, and and I have a Safari browser installed, and also the Chrome browser installed in my mobile device. So just think again, think an environment as an ecosystem. It's a set of tools, it's a set of configurations that are set in a specific place just for you to create or to do a task. In our case, to test. In case of the manual QA engineers, we will have our own testing environment specifically set with the conditions that we need just to execute our test cases. So it depends on the company. Not all the company have exactly the same set of tools, the same set of things to just to test their software. You may know that, I know, maybe if you are working for Amazon, then you will need to have a specific set of tools installed in your computer in order to execute test cases in the Amazon platform. But probably if you're working for the, I know, maybe for Facebook, or you are working for WhatsApp, for example, for WhatsApp, that is also a Facebook, or is a Meta company, you will need to have other things installed, because WhatsApp is they have the main application is a mobile application. They also have an application which is a desktop application, but let's say that the main application is a mobile application. So in that case, you will need a different set of tools. You will need mobile devices to run and to execute your test cases and different configurations, or you will need to install simulators or an emulator in order to execute the application, the WhatsApp application, in different in different environments, in different ecosystems, just to make sure that the application is working just for all the customers or all the clients available in the world. So just think an environment as an ecosystem. Okay, so just continuing with the definition, think of it as an ecosystem which holds a specific set of tools, settings, configuration, and other software components to closely follow phases of the development life cycle. This ecosystem usually includes a specific version of server, as well as a client version of a program. Release management best practice includes setting up different environments, which are mainly. And here it's if you remember from the software software development lifecycle class or lesson, you may remember that the first phase was the planning phase, then you have the design phase, then you have the on the planning and design phase, the first or the main output of those phases are documentation, right? You remember that the planning phase, you have let's say the main objective of the planning phase is to create documentation. Yes, the PRD, product requirement document. Also, you create some documents in order to assess and make sure that you plan all the resources that you will need to use, from the economic resources, from human like people that you will need to hire, or teams that you will need to create in order to just execute that specific project. Test cases, the planning phase is not to create test cases, it's just also regarding the like regarding the testing part, it's let's say that you start creating like the test plan in which you will be describing what will be the let's say the testing approach. But that's not the main part. I mean, the planning phase is not the main part. It's more on the testing phase. On the testing phase, you will be working, yes. So yes, it's business requirement document, product requirement document, and testing requirement document. It's also, but it's more for the testing phase in that case. I mean, the reality, in the real world, if we talk about I mean, what the book says, they said that in the planning phase, you start discussing about the product, you start discussing about the specifications of the product, you create that a product requirement document. Also, you describe very specifically all the requirements and everything regarding to the feasibility of the project. But in the reality is, and if you will see just when you start working on this, is that the planning phase, you start also doing other things, like you start digging more in development, you start digging also in testing and other things. But just it's important that you know that the planning and design phase, there are no environments like associated to those phases. The main output of the planning and design phase are documentation, as you said, the business requirement document, the product requirement, and also that could be also testing documents as well, but everything are documents and are the technical also tech requirement documents as well. So all the documentation, you start like start talking, or you start using environments just starting from the development phase. Just in the development phase, you will be, or there will be environments involved, because developers will need their own environment to start writing their code, start creating their features. Remember that the development phase is the main phase in which developers start working on creating the code and writing the code using a programming language to create the specific features that are planned or are according to the product requirement document. Okay, so that's the first phase in which there will be an environment involved. And then we have the testing phase, or the test or QA phase, in which there will be the test environment, or the testing environment also will be there. It will be very similar to the development environment, but not with the development tools for sure. There won't be like tools specific to write code, or to those specific things. But the idea is that the testing phase will have their own environment to execute the test cases, also to create if there is a specific tool to report issues or to report bugs, then the testing environment needs to be, I mean, that tool needs to be there for sure, because the testing or the manual QA engineers, are also automation engineers, will be reporting issues from that environment. And then you have the staging environment, which is a very special environment, because the objective of that environment is really specific. We will talk about that specific environment in the slides. I mean, in next slides. But yes, it's also a testing environment. The staging environment is also a testing environment. It's also called pre-production environment, because it's just before the production or live environment. But that staging environment have or has just a specific objective. But yeah, we'll talk about it later. And then we have the production environment, the production or live environment, which is the environment that everyone access once we visit, let's say, a website. If we open a browser right now and we type www.amazon.com, then we are accessing the production or live environment, and the Amazon production environment. Okay, so we, as a client, we're always accessing the production or live environment of the company that we are visiting. Okay, so that's, and we were talking about in details about all of them. So first of all, any question about this idea of the general idea of an ecosystem, or and what those ecosystems involve? Any questions? Is it clear? Clear? All good? Please let me know if you, I mean, if there is something that you, I mean, if you have any question, please let me know. Sometimes this could be a little bit confused, because it's not that related to the to your actual job that you will be like your testing job, but it's something which is it's peripheral concept that is important that you know. Let's say, is some testing in the staging environment? Yes, yes, absolutely. There isn't a specific type of test that we do in the staging environment. We will check that, don't worry. Okay, so yeah. So as I mentioned, the development environment, is where the developers create their code. So it's where the software is developed. That's the main thing. So the definition says, or here it says that in some situations, this could be a developer desktop. In other situations, this would be a server shared by several developers working together on the same project. This environment should resemble the production environment as much as possible to prevent issues where the software acts differently on production. So that part is very important. What I'm referring is that the development environment should resemble the production environment. And why is that? Because if developers are creating a feature and always once developers create a feature, they always test their own feature. So they are writing their code and they open the feature that they are creating, and they do and they just create some specific test. And here is a question for you. Do you remember what type of test developers create? The only one that they are, or the, yes, let's say that the ones that they are main responsible for? What kind of test? White box testing, yes, but what is the specific type of test? It's white box testing, but no. Functional testing, no. Unit test, yes, there you go. Unit testing, perfect, yes. Remember that unit testing is the type of testing that developers do just to make sure that their code is working as they expect to be working. So it's a little bit tricky because unit test is code that they create to test their own code. So yeah, that's a bit tricky, but it's like that. They create code, they write some line of codes in order to validate the code that they are creating, or the features that they are creating. So yes, just in order to do that, in order to make sure that their features are working, they need to have not similar, just the same set of configuration as the production environment. Because if the feature is working in the development environment, then it will means, I mean, if the configurations, all the tools and settings are the same as production, then they will be sure that if the feature is working in their environment, then that feature will be also working in the production environment. So the production environment and the development environment needs to have exactly the same set of configurations. So the same tools and configurations. So developers uh, can can be sure that the features that they are creating, the features that they are testing in their own environment will also be working into the production environment. It's very, very common, and you will see that there are sometimes companies, they like having two environments exactly synchronize it. It's very difficult, and some companies fail to do that. And that's why let's say once you are testing something, let's imagine that you are testing something in production, and something that is that you find that is not working in production, and you say, hey, developer, this feature and this specific thing that you just deployed to production is not working, and developers, once they review the same feature in their own development environment, they say, but the feature is working for me. I don't understand why it is working in my environment. The feature is perfectly working in my computer, but it's not working in production environment. And the problem, and most of the time, the problem is because there is some I mean, the production environment is missing some configuration that the development environment is set. So something that is set here, it is not set there or in production environment. So that's why a feature could be working in one place, but not in the other one. So yeah, just having those environments with the same set of tools, with the same set of configuration is very important, and will like assure, or will like reduce the chances of having an issue that developers are not seeing in their own environment. So there is a question. So essentially, development and production environment needs to be identical. Yes, that's the idea. The environments needs to be uh, needs to be identical. That's the word. So developers consider this essential to quality. Yeah, because they need to test their own features, and every development group extend to have system up and running all the time. This is usually the environment a developer will use to run tests to ensure code quality. Remember that the tests that they run are the unit test, and QA engineers usually do not work in development environment. So that's also something important to remember, that you as a manual QA engineer, you won't be using a development environment. It's very, very rare, or it's not something common working in development environments. Sometimes there could be, just once you gain some experience, there could be there could be a chance that maybe once you work with another developer, just testing in the development environment some specific feature, but the general process is that once they create the feature, they deploy the build that they create, they deploy the build into the testing environment, and then you execute your test cases there in the testing environment. But yeah, sometimes it could be that sometimes that's why it says usually do not work in the development environment. So there are some chances to do that, and just to test in the development environment, but it is not the common process. So there's another question. What would they change to fix that issue in the production environment? Well, that's a very good question. And there is another slide in this presentation, but just for you, I will let you know, because if you are asking, I can clarify that part. And once, if we as a QA engineers, we find an issue in the production environment, what we used to, I mean, it depends on the issue. That's the first thing. We need to analyze, and depends on the issue. We will need to ask to development to create a hot fix. What we call a hot fix, it's something that is an urgent task. They stop doing everything that they are doing. The development environment, the development team stop doing other things, and they concentrate on fixing the production environment and the production issue, and then they release, or they deploy a hot fix, what we call a hot fix, which is just a new build that is installed in production in order to fix the problem. But I'm mentioning the part of depends on the issue, because if the issue that you find is, I don't know, a typo, for example, and a typo, For example, in a regular, let's say in Amazon, let's imagine again that you are working for Amazon, and then you find a typo in one of the pages or one of the blogs that it's inside the um, inside Amazon web page. Then if it is a typo, it is a bug for sure. We need to fix it, but it's not something urgent. And then you will prioritize that issue, uh, that issue to be fixed in the next release without any urgent, because if it is a typo. But if we imagine that you are working for a website where you are working for a company that is a dictionary. It's a very important dictionary that a lot of people are consulting, and then there is a typo in the dictionary. So that just even if it is a typo, which is not the severity of having a typo is not high, but having a typo in a dictionary is unacceptable. So that case, you will need to ask to developers to create a hotfix to fix it immediately. Because if it is a typo, but it is in a dictionary website that it's something that is not acceptable to have a typo in a dictionary. Okay, so yes. Is a hotfix considered a blocker? Well, I mean, that a specific there are two different concepts. One is the priority and severity of an issue, and then the hotfix. It's something that, I mean, the concept of hotfixing something is because you need an, let's say, or the company needs to fix it as soon as possible. So usually what companies used to do once they have a blocker issue is to create a hotfix. And a hotfix is that it's like something which is released or deployed as soon as possible, because it could be blocking, or it could be something very critical for the company. For example, Amazon, a blocking issue or a high priority or blocking or critical issue could be something related to the checkout of Amazon, for example. If they have a problem or they have an issue in the checkout process, then they will be losing a lot of money per minute. So it's something that it's even measured in that way, in minutes, that they are not selling or purchasing things. I mean, a minute that the client cannot purchase something, they are losing a lot of money, lot of money, big amount of money. So that case, those are critical issues, and for those cases, they create or release a hot fix. So there are a lot of teams, probably one team, but it could be different teams involved into creating the fix for that. Yes, it's a high priority. It depends on the time of the company and what the problem is in relation to the company, correct? Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yes, high priority. Yes. Yeah, but there is another concept, and you will explore that concept in the future, which is the priority and severity. Those are different things, which are that some companies used to have that concept. Sometimes they mix the concept, but the reality says that there are different concepts. They are different concepts: severity and priority. It's the dictionary example is the main example, or the most easiest the easiest way uh, to know it, the difference between priority and severity. The typo in a dictionary is a very high priority, really high priority in a dictionary, but it's a low severity, because it's a low severity because a typo is just a typo. It's the severity is very low. And the other way around, it could be something that an issue that once you click in one place, you enter some text, and then you submit a form, then the entire website is down. That case or is broke. I mean, the entire website is not working anymore. So the severity in that specific case is really high. But let's imagine that that specific form, it's something that maybe one client in 1 million of clients, they create or they use that form. So in that case, it's high severity, because if you do that, if the client do that, then the entire website will be down because of that. But at the same time, it's low priority, because let's say the probability of someone doing that specific workflow is really low. As I mentioned, just one client from a million. So that case, that specific case is low priority and high severity. Okay, what kind of issue is it's on a hot fix? Well, like kind of issue, it could be anything, but most of the times it's related to the main business of the company. So if the QA team, or if the company in general requires a hot fix, is because that specific problem or that specific issue is blocking the main business of the company. In the case of Amazon, it could be related to, as I mentioned, related to the checkout flow, or related to the search flow. That is also really important for Amazon. So in that case, you will require a hotfix, because the problem or the issue is affecting the main business or the main workflows of the company. For how long it's going to take? Well, it depends, but generally when you have this kind of problems, they're like maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depends on the problem. Again, there are some times, and I know maybe in the past, I know if it was last year, Facebook was more than 8 hours down, and because of an issue that they find. So it depends on the issue. What is the difference between hotfix and urgent on a bug ticket? There are different, those are different concepts. Like an urgent, like hotfix, remember, is more related to something urgent that you need to solve. So the hotfix is what we call hotfix to the process. Yes, we call hotfix to a process that you execute in case you find a blocker issue or a critical issue that you need to fix. Okay, so the hotfix is a process. It's a process to fixing something really urgent. Priority is how urgent something is. Severity, how bad affects to the software project. Yeah, that's a good definition. So severity is related to the integrity of the system, like a non-functional testing, or it is not related. No, severity is, again, just think in that specific example that I mentioned. A severity of, remember the dictionary example. I'm clarifying this, I'm taking this minutes to clarify this, because this could be an interview question. Then also, sometimes I used to ask this question in interviews. What's the difference between priority and severity when you are creating or when you are reporting a bug, when you are creating a bug report? Just remember the example of the dictionary and a typo in a dictionary. The typo in a dictionary, the severity of having a typo is really low, because it is just a typo. So the severity is really low, but the priority is really high, because it's a dictionary and it is not acceptable to have a typo in a dictionary. So That case, the severity is low and the priority is high. And the high severity could be, and as you mentioned, that the severity, how bad is affects to the software. Yes, the severity, for example, a high severity issue could be something that the client can do, like again, submit a form or just click in some places and then the entire website is down. Okay, so that case is a high severity because the entire website stopped working, and then that case it's high severity. But it could be low priority if, even if it is high severity, could be like low priority if it is something that clients is really or the probability of clients using that specific feature is really low. So in that case, the priority, or the company, the product managers could decide to fix that issue just in the next sprint, maybe 2 weeks more in the future, or like next month, something like that. Even if it is high priority, if it is high severity. Hotfix would be a blocker and high priority. Yes, probably that's the case. Yes, but just most of the time a hotfix, and again, also fixing a typo in a dictionary page, it could be also a hotfix because it's something that needs to be solved urgently, very urgent, as soon as possible. So yeah, it's the hotfix is more related to the priority and not to the severity. If it is a high priority, it's a really high priority issue, then probably you will need to require a hotfix. So yeah, okay. Is it clear, more or less? Cool. Yes. Okay, great. Just ask if you have any question, any other question. So yeah, let's continue with the testing environment. Well, there's another question. Hotfix is a process of fixing urgent issues like blocker. Is that right? Yes, that's a very good comment about it. Yes. Like, I mean, urgent issues like blockers, but there could be issues that are not blocker, but you also decide to fix it as soon as possible. Okay, so not only blocker issues, but something that the company decide to fix as soon as possible. So those are the hot fixes. Okay, but yeah, most of the times are related to blocker issues, but not 100% of the times are like that. But yeah, most of the time are blocker issues that you need to fix. So yeah, thank you for the comment. So the QA environments, as we were talking, then QA engineers, you as a manual QA engineer will need to work in your specific environment. You will probably, or the company will provide you a laptop, will provide you the set of uh, tools and things that you need to install in your own laptop, I mean, the laptop that they provide to you. They could also provide a laptop with just all the tools that you need already installed in that laptop. But the idea is that you, as a manual QA engineer, you will need to have your testing environment set. Most of the time, depends on the company, the environment will be just a web browser, and no more than that. If you are working in a company that the main business is a website, probably the only tool that you will need in order to execute your functional testing will be just a browser. But if you are, let's say, you gain some experience and then you start executing other than functional test cases, and you are executing performance test, then you will need to have a specific tools that are just specific to execute performance test. But it depends. The main idea of the QA environment is that uh, you will need to have the set of tools or the set of configuration that you will need to execute your own test cases, or the test cases that the manual QA team created. Okay, so after the application has been developed and agreed to an agreed stage, it is released to the testing environment. So that's something part of the process, right? When the developers create a feature, and then once they are sure that their unit test passed, then they release that build to the testing environment. So that's your time to start executing the test, right? Different tests that you created. This is where the testers ensure the quality of the application, open bugs, and review bug fixes. So remember that you will not only executing the test cases, but also if you report an issue, then you will be retesting the issue. You will be retesting the bugs that you created, just to make sure that that bug or that issue is not there anymore. Okay, so that's um, the main objective of review bug fixes. This environment must resemble the production environment accurately, because this is the last safe place to find and fix environment related bugs. So that's the clarification. In the same way of developers or development environment that needs to be set in the same way as production environment, then QA environment or testing environment needs to also resemble the production environment in the same way as development environment. Because if we do not keep that consistency between environment, then something that is working in development environment cannot be working in the testing environment, and then you can create a bug report that will be a false bug report, right? That like something that is not working in the testing environment, but because it is not being set in the same way that the development environment and the production environment. So having that consistency between development environment, testing environment, and production environment is essential to assure the quality of the systems, and assure the quality of the integrations, and assure the quality of the product that we are offering to different clients. Okay, so many companies use a separate test environment to test the software product. Yes, and the common approach is to copy production data to test. That is something that I would like to clarify, because this part of the common approach use is to copy production data to test is not like that. Like nowadays, it's not like that. Just like in most of the companies, they do not copy data data from production environment to testing environment. And why is that? Because nowadays that there are a lot of laws that protect clients data. Well, you may know, if you are part of a social media website like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or I don't know, TikTok, you are uploading a lot of information. They know, I mean, for example, in Facebook, they know where you live. If you are taking pictures once you are on vacation, they know where you went to vacations, where where you work, what are your relatives. They know what is your family composition. They know everything if you are uploading photos and data there. They also have information about your credit card, probably your home address, and all of that information, which is really private and important information. So copy that information, and having that specific data and information available for the entire company is not something that it is allowed nowadays. So most of the time, and just for, let's say, for mid-size to big-size companies, they do not do that. And what they do is to, sometimes they copy information, but they, in the middle of copying the information, they obfuscate the data. Like obfuscating the data is a process that the company, different companies can do in order to, like, yes, they are copying information from production environment to testing environment, but they are changing things in the middle. Like they are, if there is a credit card number there in the production database, they like they change the numbers. For example, they change the numbers and some specific things, or if there is an address there, they change some letters from one place to another. So it is not um, it is not something that a QA engineer can see and say, okay, this is the person, I know where this person lives, because it's something that I can see there. It is obfuscated. You won't understand what is there. Yes, the information is copying from one place to another, but it is information without sense. It is not something, I mean, you are not seeing exactly the same information that you can see in the production environment. So questions. So the dev testing and production environment is the same. It is not, there are different environments, but the configuration needs to be the same. So that's the idea. There are different environment, different physical environment. Remember that for example, the environment of a developer could be their own desktop machine. It could be their own laptop, for example. And the testing environment could also be the testing, like the laptop of the manual QA engineer. So physically there are different things, but the configurations are the same. Yes, the configuration is the same. Yeah, that's correct. Would QA also have to test beta versions or any unreleased build, not only live production environment? No, for sure. Yes. Like beta versions are also part of the, and I think we will be mentioning that in this specific presentation. Beta and alpha testing, it's another things that it's part of the process as well. QA environment should resemble production environment. You don't want the software to go live and there are still bugs. Yes, that's correct. Perfect. So remember that part of the information of the data being copied from production environment to testing environment, because it is not like that. I mean, companies can do that, but if they obfuscate the information or they change different things. Okay, and the testing environment can vary depending on a company and can be modified per testing requirements. Okay, so as I mentioned, if you are executing performance testing, or if you're executing security testing, then you will probably need some specific security tools, or you will need some performance tools in order to assess or execute performance testing. So that case, it's the testing requirement is different, then you will need different tools or different configurations. Okay, but that's the testing environment. So guys, if there, and let me check if there is another question. If everything runs smoothly in QA environment, it will be the same in production, ideally, and that's the objective. But there are some times, and that's the, again, that's the a common problem that companies have, like synchronizing environments, synchronizing production, testing, and development environment is very difficult. Sometimes there are some, yeah, there are some times that you find an issue, and then the developer says, hey, I cannot reproduce the issue. I'm executing this in under different configuration, and I cannot reproduce it. And then they will see, or there is there is even a specific state in Jira, and in Jira saying not reproducible. So they close the issue, like moving that specific issue to the non-reproducible state. Can you give different examples of configuration? Different examples. I mentioned, I think, one of that, and in the testing environment, you can have different configurations. For example, if you are only executing functional testing, you will probably, and let's imagine that you are part of, again, that's or let's say that you are testing Twitter. You are part of the Twitter company, and then you are executing just functional testing. Remember that the functional testing is related to test functionality, to test any specific workflows, but everything from the functional point of view. So if you are just doing that, then you will, the only tool that you will need, it's a browser, it's a web browser, and opening Twitter and executing all the functional workflows. But if you are part of the performance QA team, yeah, then network throttle speed, yes, that could be also another things that you can execute. But if you can, or if you need to if you need to execute performance test, then most of the time not most of the time, all the time, I don't think there is an exception to that. If you need to execute performance test, then you will need a specific tools, like for example JMeter. JMeter is one of the most famous tools to execute performance test. In that specific case, if you are a QA engineer executing performance test, then you will need to install a specific tool to execute those performance tests. And in that case, it's a different configuration. The functional QA engineer, they won't need JMeter installed, but the QA engineer, which is executing performance test, they will need the JMeter tool to execute those performance tests. So those are the configuration that will change, even if you are a QA engineer, and even if you are using the testing environment. And then like between environment, different configuration can be related to uh, sometimes to networks, to network configurations, sometimes to communication between systems configuration, um, those kind of things, which are really like detailed things, can be changed from one environment to another, and can make that something which is working here cannot be working in another environment. But yeah, there are different, very specific configuration. Again, it could be network configuration, it could be communication between systems configuration. What other? Well, if I remember something else, I would let you know. But those are something that can be happening. So Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's take a break, please. It's just let me check. Yeah, it's 6:38. For those who are on the West Coast. So let's be here 6:49. 9:38 here. You are on the East Coast. East. Okay. Yes, correct. Okay. Yes, East. So yeah, let's be here in 10 minutes. It's if it is 9:38, so let's be here 9:39. So 9:39, everyone back, please. So yeah, let's take just 10 minutes and then we are back. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, are you back? Ready to continue? Yes. Great. Amazing. I hope you enjoyed the waiting music. I was the one reproducing it. Okay. So can you see my desktop now? Yes. Okay, great. So we were discussing about the testing environment, and now it's time of the staging environment, which is also called pre-production environment. And I will say that this staging environment is the last place of testing in general, but it's most of the times, but it also depends on the company, but most of the time, and according to my experience in general, what I have seen in the past is that the staging environment, it's just dedicated to run performance or security test. And why is that? Is because the staging environment, it is not only resembling the configuration part, the software part, the configuration, software and tooling part, but also the hardware part. Not only the software, but also the hardware part. So you may know that in order to execute, for example, a performance test, and you need to execute those tests in the same set of hardware, in the same set of let's say databases, or CPUs, or all specific hardware that is executed in like it is working in the production or live environment, right? In order to assess how fast the website is working, for example. Remember that performance test is related to that, to know how fast the website is working. How, for example, in Google, how fast Google is retrieving a result once you create or once you enter to Google, and once you find for something specific. So that is something like that is a performance test. And in a performance test, the only way of having reliable reliable results is by executing those tests in the same under the same environment, not only in software environment but also in hardware, because something which can be working fast in production environment, if it is not the same set of hardware in the staging environment, then the same test can be executed in really different times. So, and executing, or let's say maintaining those environment is expensive, right? So it is not the same maintaining an environment in which there is just one database or some specific set of hardware, very basic hardware, uh, and than in an environment that you need to maintain, because there are millions of clients accessing your production environment. Then you need to use another infrastructure, right? Another hardware infrastructure, more advanced, with more resources, more gigas of RAM, more databases working together. So yeah, that case is, or for that is the staging environment. Remember, a staging environment, also called pre-production environment, resemble the production environment, not only in the software configuration, but also in the hardware configuration. And that allows QA engineers, or allows developers and other engineers to execute not only functional testing, but also performance testing and security testing. So that's the main purpose of a staging environment. There are even some companies that they do not have a testing environment, and they just have a staging environment. So they maintain just one testing environment, which is staging or pre-production, and they execute absolutely all the test, or all the test cases, or yes, they execute their test just in a staging environment, and they don't maintain any testing environment. So yeah, it depends on the company, it depends on how deep they want to go with the performance testing. And there are some companies that they even execute performance testing in production environment, which is not very recommendable, because like, if you are executing performance tests, then probably you will be consuming some resources, and that can affect the client experience. So if you're executing performance tests in production environment, then there could be some clients seeing that the web page is working slow, or is not responding in the same way that usually is responding. And that's why someone in the company can be executing the performance test in production environment. So that's not a good choice. There are some companies that they do that in, let's say, um, in a different hour that they know that the traffic is low. I know, maybe 4 p.m. or no, sorry, 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. maybe for some companies, that specific time is a very low traffic, and they decide to execute those performance tests in production environment. But the main purpose of the staging environment, or the pre-production environment, is to have the chance of execute those kind of test cases, performance tests, security tests, in a separate environment. Okay. Production environment is live and correct. Yes. Production or live environment is the same. Correct. Okay, so a staging environment, a pre-production deployment area that serves a quality assurance check by providing a platform almost identical to production. So when it comes to staging environment versus testing environment, staging environment is more like real world testing without any of the dangers. You can keep control and privacy while testing the whole product together. The staging phase of the software lifecycle is often tested on hardware. You see that? On hardware that mirrors hardware used in the production environment. The staging site is often different from the development site, and provide a final quality assurance zone that is separate sorry, that is separated from the development or production environments. Okay, so the only thing that you need to know about the staging environment is that the staging environment is mirroring not only the software part, like configurations tools, but also the hardware part. So that way enable engineers in the company to run performance tests or security tests, for example. Okay. Any question about the staging environment? No? Cool. Perfect. So, well, we have been talking a lot of, there's a question. Is it possible to find issues or bug related um, in the previous stage? It is possible to find hardware issues or bug related to it in previous stages. Well, probably you won't find any hardware problem in the testing environment, because the hardware won't be the same as production. So a staging environment, that's a good question, because a staging environment, if there is a hardware problem, then the only place before production that you can find those kind of issues, it's in the staging environment. So security and performance testing is done in a staging environment, correct? Yes, that's correct. Sometimes some companies execute performance and security test in production environment, but that's not a good recommendation. But I mean, as I mentioned, maintaining an environment is really high it's really the cost is high. So companies, they usually try not to spend a lot of money in environments. If they can save some money testing something in a specific place and making sure that something is working without spending money in a new environment, then they will do that. But yeah, just in the ideal world says that staging or pre-production environment is the place where security and performance testing should be executed. Okay. Okay, so yeah, and production environment, the environment configured to host the final release version of the product, targeting the end users. Remember I said this at the beginning of the class, but just in case I'm repeating, if you now open a web browser and type www.amazon.com, then you are accessing the live environment or the production environment of Amazon. Okay, the Amazon production or live environment. Okay, so that's the main thing, the main consideration. It is optimized for security and performance. It is hosted on a live server. It requires alert and urgent support, and that's an important part. The production environment is the place where, as it is the place where clients will be accessing and clients will be interacting with, then it's important to set those alerts and that urgent support, because if something it is not working, then developers or teams, development teams in the company needs to know that, and the only way of knowing that something is not working in production is by setting alarms, setting a specific parameters that will trigger a specific message. It could be an email. There are sometimes that companies have a software that once something is failing or it is like showing errors, then it triggers a process to call to a person. So sometimes it's something like normal nowadays for those companies that they want to assure that their software is working the entire day, that they have those monitoring systems. If something is failing, the sometimes, or the most normal workflow is to send an email or to send a Slack message, and automatically a Slack message to a specific group saying uh, like there is a specific place in the system which is showing this specific error, and those are the alert servers or alert service, so alert services. Okay, so as it is like it's data critical, therefore its data is backed up regularly. It also involves risk management and disaster recovery. So that's something that companies also used to have, is the and a specific procedure just in case that's like a disaster happen, like it could be like an earthquake, or if the servers or the place in which their website is running, I mean, if it is destroyed because any reason, because of fire, because of an earthquake, or because another thing that can be happening. They have some disaster recovery procedures that may involve like having two specific two copies of the same data. Uh, some companies, and it depends on the company, but they usually do this kind of things, like one like information that they have in this specific database, they automatically copy to another database which is exactly the same with the same information. So in case that something is wrong with this database, that it's something that can happen, like maybe that this database, because of something, stop working, they automatically connect to the secondary database uh, just for with the objective of continue working. Okay, so that's the risk management or disaster recovery procedures that company can have in this kind of cases. Um, this is the currently released version of an application, and preferably does not change except for during scheduled releases. So, and it says preferably do not change except for during scheduled releases, because it could be in the middle, this part of the hot fix. If there is a big issue, or if there's an important or urgent issue to fix, then you will be releasing a new version to production environment. But if it is not that situation, then it will be like specific dates and hours that that the company agrees to update the production environment. In my case, last company that I was working for, we got releases to production on, I think it was on Monday and Thursdays. Uh, Usually companies, they do not release something new on Fridays, because it could be very dangerous, because most of the company won't be working on weekends, and it's very dangerous to release something new on Fridays. So they decide they always have Thursday as an option, and if that's not, there are some companies that they just create a new release for Mondays, and then they, if there is a problem, they know that during the week they will be um, fixing it. Production scale releases like Windows 10, then Windows 11. Yes, yes, correct. Well, and you, if you have a mobile phone, then I'm sure that all of you have a mobile device in your hands right now or just next to you. You will see that there are specific updates. If you open the store, if you are an Android user and you open a Play Store, if you are an iPhone user and you open the App Store, then you will see that updates are released periodically. So there are, I know, maybe if you're Facebook users or Twitter users, you will see that there is at least one update per week. Uh, sometimes are more than one updates, but those are the scheduled releases, the scheduled releases that they decide to have. Yes, okay. How does this process relate to software development lifecycle as far as a big picture point of view? Software development lifecycle has 6 steps versus 4 steps in environment. Well, remember, I can, yes, here there are the 4 environments, but remember that previous to the development phase, it is the planning and design phase. And I said this at the beginning as well, but it's the, remember that in the planning phase as well as the design phase, the main output of those phases are documentation. So there is no need of an environment on those situations, okay? So just from the third phase of the software development life cycle, then there is an environment involved, which is the development environment. Okay, is it clear now? Yes, clear, perfect, amazing. Okay, so a little bit more about testing environment. So the test environment is configured as per the need of the application under test. So that's the thing. On a few occasions, test bed or test environment could be the combination of the test environment and the test data it operates. So sometimes it's the both things, data and tools and configuration that you can have. So setting up a right test environment ensures software testing success. Any flaws in the process may lead to extra cost and time to the client. And extra cost and time to the client is because if there is a misconfiguration in the testing environment, then you can be missing an issue that can be passed to the production environment. So if there is an issue that you didn't catch in the testing environment and it is in the production environment, then maybe it could be a problem for the client and it may be translated to a cost to the company, okay? So if you didn't catch a problem, let's imagine again that you are working in Amazon and there is an issue in the checkout flow, you didn't catch that issue, then and that issue is translated to the production environment, then there will be a lot of money being lost because of that. So that's why it's important to have a testing environment well configured. Okay, so the key areas of testing environment is first system and applications, then the test data, and number 2. Number 3 is it could be databases or servers like a MySQL or DMS, database management system or NoSQLs as well. Client operative systems, so that could be part of the environment. Client operative system, iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and then different browsers like Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer. I don't think Internet Explorer is there anymore. I think it's Edge, but yeah, if you depends on the operative system, but yeah, Internet Explorer can be part of an environment. Hardware and operative systems like Ubuntu, Linux, Windows, and then network. Number 7 is networks like local area network, Wi-Fi, cellular, etc. Why do they use production live technology versus maintenance, like in software development life cycle? Why do they use production live terminology versus maintenance? Okay, remember that they are maintenance is a phase. Production live, it's an environment, and maintenance phase is more related to an stage of the process. Remember that the development, software development life cycle is a cycle, is a set of processes in order to have a feature or have a product developed, in order to have something available to the client. The main objective of the entire process is to release a new version of something to your clients. So the maintenance phase is more related to maintain, as it could be related to update the production environment. It could be related to fix some issues about the production environment. It could even be something that you would like to upgrade in the production or live environment. Sometimes companies, let's imagine that, or let's say small companies, they start with a small website, like a website which supports, let's say, I don't know, maybe 10,000 clients working at the same time. They eventually start growing because they got more clients, they got more people visiting their website, and they need to upgrade or upgrade the production environment in order to support more concurrent users accessing their website. So that will be part of the maintenance phase, upgrading the production environment, fixing something that could not be working in the production environment, that could be related to functionality, that or can be also related to security, and can be also related to performance. So yeah, it's a production or live environment is remember, is that an environment is an ecosystem, is a set of configuration, is a set of tools installed in the same place. And maintenance phase is related to upgrade, is related to maintain, is related to fix something specific in the production and live environment. I hope that's clear. Okay, great. Well, so that's everything about environments, and let's talk just a little bit about the CI/CD process, or which is the continuous integration and continuous deployment process. So the CI/CD process, you may think about it as an assembly line. So an assembly line, the cards, like for example, an assembly line of a car industry, in which all the parts of a cart are separated, and then you have an assembly line in which they start joining all the parts in order to have a car which will be released and will be released to a client who purchased that car. So the CI/CD or the continuous integration and continuous delivery or deployment process is an assembly line, a set of different processes that you need to execute or that the company execute in order to have a build available to a build available to a client. So that's the CI/CD process, an assembly line that involves different processes that needs to be executed in order to have a build available for an end user. Okay, I hope that's clear. So yes, just in the case of continuous integration, which is the first part, remember that is CI, is continuous integration. Is an automation to build and test application where new code changes are pushed into the code repository. So the very first thing that triggers the first step in the process is a developer pushing their code into a repository. So that's the very first part, or the very first step in the process, pushing code to a repository. Remember that developers, they share a repository where they add their code, and normally there is more than one developer working in a company, so they have repositories in which they create their code and push their code to that repository in order to integrate with other developers' work. So a repository is like a box in which they add their code, and that box has all the code and information that also other developers are adding to. Okay, so that's something that that is present in this specific process. So the continuous integration part, once a developer push code to a repository, then automatically create a build. Here it is, the first step, creates the build. Everything, and one clarification about this, everything here is automatically. There is no, everything is automated, okay? So there is a tool that will be creating a specific build after a developer push a change into a code repository. Then once that build is created, there will be different tests, automation tests. Everything here is automated, remember that? So there will be automation tests that will be executed in order to validate this build. If everything passed, then the next step in the process will be that that specific build will be deployed to the staging area. Then if there is a staging environment, the acceptance test will be executed also in the staging environment. Or if those specific acceptance tests passed, then the next step in the process will be deploy the original build to the production environment. And once that build is deployed to production environment, then the smoke test will be run. And remember that everything here is automatic, is an automatic process. So everything is automation here in this specific process. The only differentiation, or the only difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment, like the CD part of, remember, that is CI, continuous integration, and CD. The CD part is continuous delivery or continuous deployment. The only difference between them is like the continuous delivery, it's installing or deploying a build in production environment by a specific person, like with a human intervention. It is literally a person clicking on some specific buttons in order to deploy a build to the production environment. It's a person, it's a human there, which is like seeing all the process. It's like, okay, this process, this is step pass, this is step pass. Then now I need to deploy this to production. And they will click specific parts, they will set a specific configuration, and just after that, the build would be deployed into the production environment, and it will triggers a smoke test. And in the continuous deployment process, everything is automated, no human intervention. What this is what we call the release to customers is ongoing. Why is that? Because once a developer push a piece of code to a repository, then if everything pass here, then that specific change will automatically be deployed to production in order to be accessed by different end users. Okay, so it's the main difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment is that in this part of the process, which is the deployment to production, the continuous delivery part is with human intervention. Person most of the times is a DevOps engineer or a release engineer deploying the build to production environment. And in the continuous deployment process, everything is ongoing, no human intervention. This specific process of CI/CD, like the continuous integration and continuous deployment, is really hard to achieve, really hard. Like having a process in which everything is automatically released to production without human intervention it is really different to difficult to achieve. And most of the company have this process, the continuous delivery part. Most of the company, probably just the big size companies, they just have this continuous deployment part well configured. But most of the companies, they don't have this continuous deployment concept with them. Okay, smoke tests are like functionally not working right. The smoke test, well, the smoke test is a specific type of test which is just a few test cases that you execute in production environment in order to make sure that the main or critical functionality is working after deploying a build. Okay, just the main functionality, not some specific or some other features that can be secondary, but just the main features. Again, the example of Twitter, for example, and a smoke test in Twitter can be like a test case in which you make sure that the login feature is working. Also that you can post you can tweet something. That's a main functionality. Probably that you can reply something. That could be also a main functionality for Twitter, or uploading a picture. Also a main functionality, but no more than that. It's just the main functionality. Those test cases are part of the smoke test, just the main ones. Okay, and those are the ones that are executed after a new build is deployed to production. Who will be doing testing in continuous integration? A developer or an automation QA? Well, in this continuous in this CI/CD process, everything is automatically. So the only ones in like the intervention here will be with the automation QA engineers. But this is a process, a separate process from the testing process. So every time a developer push a code to a repository, this process is triggered, but it doesn't mean that manual QA engineers won't be working because of this process. It's not like that. Then probably there will be a lot of features, there will be a lot of functionality that this specific test process won't be catching or won't be testing. So just before a developer push their code to a repository, then manual QA engineers probably will need to execute an extra set of test cases. So, but yeah, everything here is automatically, and the only tests that are executed here, that are executed also here, and that are also executed here are automatic test or automation test. Repository is like a table where you create a puzzle and each developer is adding their pieces to the table to create a product, correct? Yes, that's correct. It's you may imagine that as a box in which developers are adding their work. So again, there are the companies, they usually have a lot of developers, and the only way of having developers working in different features, in creating different features, and then integrating those features in the same place is by using this process of having a repository. So there is a developer A creating a feature A. They need to integrate that feature A with the feature B, which is being created by the developer B, C, and D. So they all add their code into a repository, and then the repository is the place in which everything is integrated. Okay. In smoke testing, the focus is on the main functionality of the application. Yes, that's what I said. Correct. The main functionality. Did you say smoke testing is automated as well in continuous deployment? Yes, here, I mean, it could be both. It could be both. Most of the time, the smoke test is also automated, but it could be, again, it could be a smoke test being run by manually, like by manual engineers. But yeah, I mean, the only differentiation between these two processes is on the deploy to production part. And the continuous delivery, it's with a human intervention, and then in the continuous deployment is without human intervention. But the smoke test part is automatically most of the times. But there are some companies that they require some manual QA engineers to execute those main test cases in production. Okay. So I hope that's clear. I know that there is a lot of information. It's a lot of information, but I hope you catch the main ideas of this. And if not, please let me know. Okay, so one of the tools which execute this specific process of CI/CD process is this run deck. There are other tools like Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, GitLab. Those are also tools which execute this process of continuous integration and continuous deployment, or continuous deployment and continuous delivery. But it's I mean, this is one of the ones available in the market. Okay, so the first step, or if you are a manual QA engineer and you want to deploy a build using this tool, then this will be the steps. The first one will be log in to the tool and then click on jobs. Again, this is the run deck example. In Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, or GitLab, it could be a bit different, but most of the time it's very similar. And then you will have this specific part of execute a job section with the different things that you need to set. For example, where you want to deploy a build. In this case, it could be a development environment, a stage, or testing environment. Then you have an application name, then the build number, and if you are if you have a specific build that you want to deploy to any of this environment, then you will need to add the build number here. And this is an extra information that the Jira release. Here it is a repository. Repo is a repository from which this specific process or this specific job will take the build to be deployed in this environment. And then you have a chance here, as I mentioned, to set a Slack channel. And most of the times, the idea or the main objective of having this Slack channels set is because once this process or this job is done, then the tool will automatically publish or post information about that build. If that build was successfully deployed to the environment that you decide to deploy it, and then it will say like something like the build was successful, or the deployment process finished successfully. And if there is an issue, then you will have another message, but related to the build that fails in that specific thing. So once you set all the parameters, then you will have this kind of buttons here, which is run job now. And then if everything goes okay, then you will have something similar to all steps okay. And then you have another things like a start time, duration, other information. And so here, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but let me just here in this, for example, in this case, you will have this is the report after the the job was executed. So here, if because it is an example that it says succeeded after 0 seconds, yeah, there is no job. It is not possible to have a job executed in less than a second. So most of the time are minutes that it takes to execute a job. So, but you have this kind of information like the time duration, then the time that is started, and information about the specific build that you executed. And here you have the log output, which is related to information that that you will need. This is more like useful if there is a problem in the process. So just in the case that the build failed, then you will need this kind of information to see and check what it fails, and if it is something that you can do in order to improve it. Okay, so yeah, that's the run deck tool. Any question, guys? Do you say did you say smoke testing is automated as well in continuous deployment? Yes. Well, it would be both in continuous delivery and continuous deployment. The smoke test can be automated and cannot be automated. So it depends on the company, it depends on the teams. But the objective of this, like the theoretical thing of the smoke testing process in this, or the ideal world in this process, is that both both continuous delivery and deployment, the smoke test is a set of tests that will be automatically executed, um, no matter if it is continuous delivery or deployment. But it depends on the company. Do we need this tool? Do we need to practice with it? No. This is for you to know. This tool is just for you to know how this specific process is being executed. Remember that everything here is automatically, and it is a tool that will be executing all the processes. All of these steps needs to be executed by a tool. And this run deck tool is just that, is a tool that will be executing all of these steps in an automatic way. Okay. The tool like Rundeck is for automation engineers or for the manual QA as well. Well, everyone can execute or can use the tool in order to deploy, for example, having a build that you want to deploy to your own environment, to your testing environment, or you want to deploy to the staging environment. But this is information for you to know. You won't be using this, at least at the beginning. Once you join a company, you won't be using this kind of tools for sure. But this is for you to understand, because probably you will be in a meeting with other engineers saying, hey, okay, this is our CI/CD pipeline, or this is our CI/CD process. And then they will show you how they create the bill, or from where they take the automation test. And then just by having this class or having this information, then you will understand, okay, I know what is a CI/CD process. And I understand what you're talking about. Yes. Can I ask how much this presentation is for manual QA in terms of will be doing these things, or is manual for to understand, but other people will be doing these things? Yes, other people will be doing the things at the beginning. And it for the interview, I mean, in my case, and according to my experience, I have never asked about CI/CD tooling or environment. Not for manual QA engineers, at least. But again, it's something important, because in a tech company, you need to understand. I mean, you need to talk the same language, and talking same language involves to have this information in your mind, even if you are not a daily user of a CI/CD tool. But you need to know that this, because if it is part of the whole thing, of the whole environment of the information that companies talk and know, and so that's why it's important. Okay. What is the acronym of CI/CD? The words continuous integration, continuous deployment, or continuous delivery. That's the CI/CD. Okay, great. Okay, guys, so thank you very much. Again, I hope this makes sense. I know that there is a lot of information, so in case you need any extra support, please, I will just write here my email. Just in case you have a question, you can email me that question. I'd be more than happy to answer all of your questions, but also feel free to recheck the presentation, and just in case you have any doubt about this specific lesson. Okay. Well, about the homework, please just send the questions to the support team, or ask into the Slack channel. So yeah, please, if you have any homework related question, please ask to the support team. In case you have any question about a specific test case or how to create a test case or something like that, then you can ask me, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And even if you want to share the file, the homework file that you created, the test cases, and you want me to check those test cases, I won't have problem. I can add comments to those files. But yeah, everything related to the homework and the steps that you need to do, please ask to support. Can the date be extended for the submission? I'm sorry, but I don't think that will be possible. Because next lesson, it's the ones that teachers you will be starting checking the homework. So yeah, that's the thing. So again, guys, thank you very much. I hope this makes sense. Repeat that, please. Okay. I don't think it's possible to extend the time for the homework submission, because from starting next class, you will be checking your homework with a teacher. So please submit your homework as soon as possible. So that's the thing. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you. Bye-bye.